Okay, so we're picking up our notes from Leviticus 15. Um, I remember when I first read it, this is all new. But these are everything that relates pertains to these words are things that actually happen to people. And out here in the world, this is why they're so important for us to know. Um, I've said this many times, and I'll say it as long as I'm reading through the Holy Scripture. This is a spiritual battle. So therefore, if we have a spiritual battle, we have to have spiritual forces to be able to fight back during these times. Um, this was talking about a man if he has any discharge from his body. This could be many things, Um, this could be so many things. So you don't want to exclude anything. Excluding is probably worse than including because then you're leaving more consequences open. Do you understand what I mean? So you really don't want to exclude just things. You want to just the more you add, the better. Um, Especially when it comes to being cautious over things. You will not be mad if you are overcautious versus being upset if you're not cautious enough and you miss something that's simple. So this happens with the man. Anything you sit on will be unclean, unclean, unclean um, until the evening. It must be washed off, and then the man on the seventh day must be presented to the priest, and to the tabernacle to sacrifice with with pigeons, the young pigeons, or the young pigeons of birds to make him ceremonially clean again, to purify him again. And then and anything he touches. Um, and this all goes, I mean, this is like, he's basically saying it's kind of like contact and contact disease, not necessarily airborne. If you're around the person, they're in the same room. You could be in the same room having a conversation. Um, you know, but this it would be more on on a contact basis, like if you touch them or touch anything they sat on, things like that. And this is what's really, really, really just really gets me is the clay pots. And through all these instructions, anytime there's a clay pot and any kind of defilement or anything went on, it is to be broken. And I believe it is a container, a vessel that will contain and hold these things, and we don't want to hold any kind of ties to it. So broken, broken, broken clay pots. That's it. They're containers. You don't want to hold that in any kind of way. Kind of like if they're, kind of like if they're enclosed in there. If they do come across it, then you don't want to carry that presence. Spiritual again. You don't want to carry that presence around with you through your impurities. And then so we have that, and then we have the women. This is all women. This is not excluding women. Every woman should have a menstrual cycle. Um, I have met few people that were born with some I wouldn't say deformities, but intersexual, which born with both organs or something like that, and we've had different kind of they might have a different way of having their menstrual cycle. And I don't wouldn't go into getting into all that, but if you take time to study it, you might be able to do that. But whatever it is, a woman for sexual, I mean for menstrual cycle is she has once a month. And this was all brought down for since Eve and Adam and Eve, and she says, I'm going to bring pain and stuff to, and I will crush your, and you will be against it. And Satan said Eve was going to crush Satan's seed. And this is something I study the Holy Scripture. I don't just read it. I study, dissect, reading between the lines. Look at it from so many different ways. Go through the eras of time passed by and seeing how they relate, how those things might have been significant, and how they acted and pertain to him versus how we do, and then how we are instructed to. And I do see a resemblance in why these things needed to be that way. I, for one, being a woman, um, I've been to, um, I've stopped by a seminary, and they only allowed women to study certain things, or the Baptist, which I go to, only allow women to do certain things, and there is limitations there. And because I know the Holy Scripture, I respect what they say, but I also know myself, and I know the things that God has showed me, and I know the things I prophesied, and I know the people that have been healed. So I I would like to say that reading these instructions, I also know, being a woman, reading these instructions, I also know there is times when I am, I'm not going to say not that holy, but I would say that I am not myself. Like I really, really feel like I just don't feel like myself. And any woman to deny that is a fool. I mean, this is another reason I didn't want a woman president, Hillary Clinton. I'm not saying Trump is the best, but I know better. I really just know better. That's really hands down between that and the abortion laws and so many other things. It's like so many people put so many things on the president when you do not know it takes so many others to pass the law. It's not just him enforcing it and saying I'm going to do this, do that. You know, it's just you really have to really open up your mind to see how things really are before you start judging. You know, judging by what media says or things like that, or to think of somebody idolize them to be so grand that they have that much power. I mean, just you're just not being logical in your thinking. Um, anyway, so like I was saying, even me, I take my time out from when I was writing, frequently, daily, or whatever. There was times that I would take a break, and it would be those particular times, might have been the time of the month or whatever, that I would take a break because I don't believe that there's like I could write, like I could literally write stuff easily from reading the Bible, catching on for stuff that goes with it, stuff like that. I'm not spiritually dead, but I don't feel spiritually connected either. I feel the difference. It's been years. So I do know the difference, and I do know when it's time for me to step away, and not step away, but take time for myself, um, organize, strengthen. And this is the thing. This happens not just when it comes to impurities, but it comes through any challenges in life that we might have. We might imagine how many people out here in the world are not following these instructions. Imagine how many impurities could possibly be on you. Could you not just look at your life sometimes and be like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Where is this coming from? Stuff like that. It's like, it's not that kind of hard to really just think like that about things. It's not, it's really just kind of really just blind strikes you. But I have learned that, in my strengthening through the spirit and things like that, I have learned that God could still do great things through this time and open windows and doors that I've seen just miraculous things happen where it really is on one to be one with God, to be one with God to really determine who and what you are, what you will say, what you will experience. Um, Nothing in this world can hold you back from um, God's grace and His love and the things He wants to show you, regardless of what you're going through. Um, the woman that had continuous bleeding when Jesus came, um, for 12 years, and she was taken out of the community, and she wasn't allowed to be near anybody for the same reasons because of this law. But she touched Jesus. All she did was touch Jesus' clothes, and He just turned around, and Jesus said, "Who touched me?" And the disciples and everybody were like, we are in a crowd of people. Everybody knows here. Everybody's trying to touch him, get a hold of him, follow him while he was going through his ministry. And he's like, no, somebody touched me, and power came out of me. Like power went out of me. So, and this is so significant, so big, because you think, oh my gosh, there's one God, and God knows all, and God knows what He's doing. He knows our hearts, and He feels us. He felt that woman's pain and hurt. And as Jesus walked through, He's like, no, power came out of me. It's like wherever, whenever your heart is attached to Him and your belief in Him, and you know that He could heal you, and you know that He could take care of you, His power is released in that. His power is released in that. And it is so spiritual. It's not just a human bodily form that this was done. This was her spirit. She did it in humanly and bodily form. She touched his cloth, and the bleeding stopped. But this is her spirit is the one that connected with the power that released it. That released that power that healed her. So take time to study these scriptures. Do If you do know yourself, and you being a woman and you're or a man and you're doing all these things, distance yourself. Know that you're having selfish time right now, not selfish because you want it, selfish because of even what happened in the downfall, man. Selfish because of, yes, sexual impurities and things like that. Sex, it is a beautiful thing, but it's not a spiritual thing. Being spirits don't have sex together. So in case you don't know that, they don't. Um, it is not something that is added to our spiritual world. It's Actually, that's a more of a flesh thing because it's a desire, a want, a need. That just like when you're hungry. So you can easily attach those things together and understand the simplicity of making those separations of things. Um, okay. Um, so we have that. And instead of you have sex, you're defiled for until the next evening, which I also have seen many times that maybe if I've done something or I've had a bad dream or something's going to happen, God never lets a 24-hour period without me knowing of it. I'll dream about it that night or something. Or if I did do something, or sometimes I have this real spiritual moment and I don't want to mix it with anything else. No sex, nothing bad. I've had that happen a lot of times, mostly almost every day, if I can say so. But I go through that and I think I don't want to mix the beautiful and supernatural thing that just happened with the worldly thing. And if I was married and I was with somebody, well, I've been separated for 3 years, so but if I was with somebody and I had this moment, they would have to be connected to God in order to understand, hey, I just had this happen. I want to take the time off. Um, you know, for yourselves. And there's more instructions to that into the new through the Holy Scripture that unless do not deprive your sexual partner from relations unless it's for spiritual reasons and you both agree on it. Um, so it's something that you really do want to carry out in your marriage in your life, um, in the way things should be of understanding each other, understanding what it does to you spiritually, not just physically, or if you're going to go to, let's say, a funeral, birthday party, or something you really want to just grasp spiritually, you have to. I mean, it is so much more beautiful when you're there in spirit and you're not defiled from anything of this worldly flesh. That your mind is not on this and your mind on that is not on that. It is something that is very descriptive in scripture, and it's not something just to overlook or think, oh, it's nothing. It is something. It hangs on to you and it does have an attachment to you. And so you want to, you want to grab some obedience and stuff like that. Or you know what? You would never know the difference. You would never know the serenity to know the difference if you do not practice both ways to know the difference. Just practice spiritual things as you do worldly things, because that's the only way you'll be able to tell the different things. And I've shared a lot of spiritual moments with my children, with friends and family, people that I love and adore, and I will always love and adore them. I've shared, or people that I'm strangers that I meet out in the world. I've shared so many spiritual moments that I would not trade for any sexual gratification or anything like that. I wouldn't want to take that purity, that love that I just shared with them. So if you experience something during the day that you just believe is just beautiful and things like that, hold on to it. Don't let it go. If you live for God and you live for forever, if you a 24-hour period, it will not kill you. You will actually grow in your spiritual sense or force, which we all need. Okay, so we will stop there. We are on Leviticus 15:33, and to further understand this, make this easy. Google doesn't always give you the right answers. Do not use Wikipedia. I'm just telling you right now. Too many people are able to go on and add changes as they want and that are not biblical, whether it's a biblical subject or not, a religious subject or not. So you don't want to go by that. There's just like social media. That's not. But if you do have a question for God, for yourself, that you would ask God, Google the question and then put Bible verse after, and you will get a little bit more better. You would get better directed and read those Bible verses and really open them up. And then if you have Bible commentary, there's certain Bibles that open up more verses and more verses. But that is a great start in strengthening and really understanding the situation, the questions you have. So you're not alone. There is a lot of technology out there. We want to use it for good and not for bad, not to poison you, but to water you in those seeds that are planted already in your heart. Okay, thanks. Okay, now we're back.